Oh, we're straight on.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Nerdy Up North podcast. It's a nerdy podcast and it's hosted by Northern Nerds. I am one of your hosts, Sam.
And I am the other host, Paul.
And joining us today, we
Mm.
have a very special guest for a very special episode. He is the Northeast's very own. He's a director, editor, producer, and screenwriter, giving us great hits like Dog Soldiers, The Descent, and The Reckoning. Today, he joins us to tell us all about his latest movie, Duchess. Nerdy Up North is so happy to welcome back to the podcast, Neil Marshall.
Hello.
So
Thank you for being back.
that's very, very nice to have you back as well. And thank you so much for that little introduction as well, Sammy, bless her.
Thanks.
So yes, so you've been extremely busy, Mr. Marshall, shall we say. We were lucky to get a screener of your movie last night as well. So we got to check it out before the release. Comes out next week on the 9th of August.
Yes.
Duchess, which you directed and co-wrote as well. So you were very busy on this one, I take it.
That is it as well.
Oh,
Yeah, I did notice everything in Wikipedia was all green on this one. You pretty much covered everything. Just to start off with, Neil, how did Duchess come about?
So although it's the third film that I've made with Charlotte, it was the first one that we kind of came up with. So back in 2018, we were just having a conversation about gangster movies and how much we like gangster movies. I can't remember which one of us came up with it first, but somebody said, "What if we did a female Scarface?"
Right.
And kind of the seed was planted then, and so that developed into a story, which then developed into a script, and spent the next few years working on that script while then going off and making The Reckoning, and then Lockdown, and then making The Lair. So finally got into a position where we were able to get it made in 2020.
Definitely. And when we watched it back last night, that was what was my big thing. It was like a proper like gangster feel. It was almost almost, I know it sounds weird because it like had like London accent stuff, but it was almost like a little bit grimy as well. Like it was filmed in the Northeast and like say as brutal as it would be up north, shall we say. But it was nice because it didn't pull any punches, certainly not. It is brutal to watch through, like, and I did enjoy it. One thing I did notice from the film as well is just the look and the colors and the tones and stuff. It was absolutely beautiful. Is that something that you purposely went out because it's a big contrast and change from like the other movies that you've made as well?
Yeah, I mean it's weird. It's somebody pointed out it's like it's the first film that I've done that's kind of set in the real world.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
They don't have a genre element to it or a historical element. It's like set today in a version of the real world. But yeah, myself and the DP Simon wanted to give it a vibrant look. We're both like heavily influenced by cinema from the 70s as well. I love all that stuff. So like in terms of some of the captions and then the music as well to give it a real kind of 70s gangster vibe. They drive around in a Jag. It's like Sweeney, that kind of stuff. So it was like giving it a very British flavor, a very 70s flavor. Also, because a lot of British films are kind of quite dull, visually. That I wanted this to look like a real movie. We shot it in anamorphic. It's widescreen. Gave it this amazing color palette, which is really rich and vibrant, and made it look gorgeous.
No, great. And I know, like, now you've said it, I get hit so much with the 70s vibe now, like after, like, say, taking it in. One thing I did want to mention as well, because I know on your last interview you did with Sammy and Dan, you mentioned that, like, say, one of the big things that you do love is the Bond franchise and stuff. Now, going back to that, the visuals and the car chases and like even like the gunplay and the gunshot, it had a very Bond feel to it. So is that something that you kind of took influences for as well?
Massively. I'm glad you noticed that, because yes, it was like an opportunity to go and do shots of cars driving along beautiful cliff tops over the ocean. It was like felt very very Bond. Also, I think the character of Rob is sort of like an anti-James Bond, because he's got the looks and he looks great in a suit and he can handle himself in the action, all kind of stuff, but he is to all intents and purposes, he's a criminal. So,
Mhm.
but I love bringing that kind of glitz and glamour and sort of James Bond edge to it, especially when Scarlett makes the move down to Tenerife and things
Mm.
just. But she's also like going off into this world and meeting these kind of
Mm.
supervillains and stuff like that, which was very Bond-like, and secret lairs and sorts of stuff going on. But yeah, definitely I wanted to give it a Bond flavor. When I was editing it, I used a lot of John Barry on the
Mhm.
soundtrack.
I, I did absolutely love Charlotte's progression throughout the whole movie. I love the fact that she figured things out as
Mhm.
she kind of went along, and you could see that thought process. Nothing was perfect. This was
Mhm.
the first time she'd been flung into this world.
Mhm.
I want to know from like a writing perspective, did Charlotte write Charlotte, or did Neil write Charlotte?
So I mean, I always do the physical writing, but like
Mm.
we're always bouncing ideas backwards and forwards constantly. But yeah, Scarlet kind of evolved from
Charlotte, that's it. Sorry, I kept calling her
and
Charlotte.
starts out, and it's probably why this role is like closest to Charlotte,
Mhm.
um, name, but I mean the character itself is like, she comes from the East End of London,
Mhm.
and so we started from that foundation, which is Charlotte,
Mhm.
and then built on all the character from that,
Mhm.
because the rest of it isn't,
Oh,
Charlotte does not box.
she did in that though. She looked fantastic.
She had to learn that from the ground up. Same with the shooting guns and stuff, I didn't want to make her some like super spy.
Mhm.
First time in the story, it's kind of the first time that she's handling guns and things like that. So it
Mhm.
was just a case of like going out and practicing and learning all that stuff from the ground. She's never done anything like that in movies before. So
No,
No.
it's because it's interesting. Like you said, she's never done anything like that because she took to it like you couldn't tell watch this movie, like the action sequences and like as you said, the brutality, like throwing the punch, like everything seemed like ultra realistic,
I hope
which
so.
which does come across with most of your movies. That thing. Now, just harping back to a little point that you made, that you said this is a movie that's basically set in the real world, where everything. I can see crossover factors in this movie with other movies you've done. I would love to see the Duchess versus Dog Soldiers. That would be an interesting take if you can like combine that element in a way type thing. Maybe she do us
Yeah.
like a hideout in Scotland sometime.
Doomsday, I think that'd be a good one.
Yes.
Yes. Oh, sorry. My brain just went into overdrive there. I love Doomsday. Absolutely. That was such a ride of a movie. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Do you know what? I've thrown myself because I can't believe I got a name wrong.
That's
I've done
fine.
this twice now with two people that I've interviewed.
Let it go. It's fine.
The names are so similar. So
Mhm. It's all right. It's not like you call them Doug Bradley. It's fine. It's but yes. What one thing I did notice for this film, and I know as with every like movie studio or with when they're making films, they're looking for the next franchise. This movie felt very much like an
Yeah.
origin story, like a setting up for. I know not to give spoilers and anything, like we get the end piece and that, like say moving on from then. But this seems like such an interesting story or interesting character that you want to know what's next. So is that something
Mhm.
that's kind of in mind? Is this kind of because I know you're not really like a franchise, like when you do a movie, like probably I don't know how many people or how many petitions have begged for Dog Soldiers 2, but this one does feel like it could move into that like bracket of a franchise.
oh, believe me, I would love to have a franchise if I was able to. It's not always as straightforward as that.
Yeah.
If the film is successful and warrants a franchise, sure. I always wanted to do a Doomsday sequel, like something like
Mm,
that. Continue that as a TV series or something. Anyway,
that would work.
this one, it was like, yeah, I mean, I think it's always in the back of your mind, but you
Mm,
don't want to hex it.
mhm.
So, I think it was like at some point, like Charlotte wanted to write on the script, part one, and
Right.
I was, no, don't, you'll hex
You
it.
don't want to jinx it just yet there.
Yeah, it was okay to do with like Kill Bill because he'd already shot the second half, so it's
Mm,
like that's happened. But with this one, it's like, no, don't hex it.
mhm,
What it is, it's a standalone film.
mhm.
Uh, make sure it is. It doesn't. I don't want to make a film that is purely there that exists only to set up a sequel. I
No,
want
no.
to
Yeah.
story right.
Mhm,
It comes full circle, and
mhm,
then yes, the you know your
mhm.
imagination has no limits as to where it could possibly go in the future. But we'll see how this one does.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's probably the northern in you as well. It's kind of like, oh, we'll keep it like this. We'll not get too excited. We'll not try and push our luck.
It's very anti-Hollywood thinking, that is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got to congratulate you on having Stephanie Beacham say some of the greatest lines in this movie. I was not expecting it, and when it happened, I was like, "Oh my god, how is it like to work with Stephanie Beacham?"
Well, I mean, listening to her swear like a trooper is hilarious.
It was brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, she didn't hesitate with the language. It was all in the script, and she was like, and she does it so well.
Yes.
So yeah, no, she was fabulous. I mean, it was just like having an icon on set. You know, I'm not in one thing or another throughout my whole life, and it's just like she's fabulous. She's still got that presence.
Yes.
So yeah, coming in and doing that role with that dialogue and the other stuff that she does was like
I think my favorite line is when she gets hung up on and she's just like I'm not going to say it because we'll try and keep this one a bit clean. But yeah, her response to that was just absolutely breathtaking. But as you said, she just has that type of presence that never goes away. But
totally.
Yeah, and if you're talking about Bond villains, that would perfect. Like if you got her as a Bond villain, I'll be happy with that.
I mean, the character itself was like, I wanted to have a character that showed where this is like where Scarlet would end up if she went down that road. It's like that's the future Scarlet. She's a cool character.
But that's it. I was kind of itching that she would. Like that's where I want her to be in that position. The stuff that she was willing to do was unreal.
Yeah.
Yeah, she may. Yes, who knows?
No, and again, like it's very much, as you said, like an origin story, a revenge story. There's so many different complex elements to this movie as well, which like I say, we tried to take it in just like watching it on our laptop last night. So we will like I know it comes out next week, so I'll probably go to the pictures. I'll take my wife to see it because she couldn't watch it, unfortunately. Just to experience it on the big, because it felt like a big screen like experience needed to be for this one as well.
I mean, as I say, I shot it cinematically. It's anamorphic. It's like I want it to be seen on the big screen, and I think it'd be an audience movie as well. I think audiences will have fun with it.
Yeah,
I know I've not seen it with the public yet, but we did have a couple of screenings, and one thing came across was that women were really, really responding to it, as much as the men, but like in a big way. That like they rooted for that character in a big way.
No,
absolutely. I can understand that point. There was certain parts of it where I was like getting up, moving, like I was moving, my emotions went along with her. You mentioned all those things, saying it was an action movie, and it was also a love story.
Yeah.
And oh my god, the love story was Rob and Scarlett. I don't want to say I want that because I'm in a very long-term relationship. But I just love the way that they communicated with each other. It was very real, incredibly real. I don't recognize the person who played him.
A bit of reality, and just a couple who are just incredibly comfortable with each other.
Yeah, no, definitely. And that come across. One person I do want to mention, because I thought he was an absolute standout in this movie. I love him in anything he does. Like as you can tell, I'm a big nerd. So anytime I see the name Sean Pertwee on any type of anything, it lights my heart with so much joy. But I know Sam was excited as well for a specific reason. You didn't kill him in this movie, so thank you.
I was so happy.
Yeah, that's the big twist.
Yeah.
No, don't say that, Neil. I even wrote that down on my notes. I was like, thank him for Sean.
That's the big twist in this movie, is that I don't kill off Pertwee.
Right. We'll blank that bit out.
Nobody's expecting him to make it to the end of the movie. No. It's but it's getting to work with Sean is like getting to work with your best mate, and this is the fourth work together. I always like to give him something different to do. And the big difference in this one is he lives.
It seemed like he was having so much fun with this character as well. Like I was when he was in, I thought it was because like the first half you don't really get much of like his personality. There's just like a gunman, a gangster. But when he starts, like, you're getting deep into him, oh my God, do you realize why you love Sean Pertwee as an actor and as a performer? Because he can he can lift anything. And like, it's like, as you said, it's a small side part of being a hitman, but it's a hitman with a heart in the way as well. It's
Yeah.
like, and he was just perfect. And again, like I say, thank you for like having him
I
in this
mean,
movie.
I mean, it was him and Hoji, who plays,
Mhm.
were a great team together, and I really like the fact that they become very protective of Scarlet. You know, they become
Mhm.
like father.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I loved all that dynamic.
I love
And
the family element to it. There was
mhm.
such a family element to it. That it was in, but it was like a kind of like an instant connection,
Mhm.
like instant gravitation to each other, and the chemistry between everyone
Mhm.
was just so on point.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
they're a good bunch, really good bunch.
Mhm.
yeah, because you were talking about, like, say, with Doomsday doing a Doomsday TV show, and again, I'm sorry to get ahead of myself. I would love to see a TV show with just them two as like a
Yeah,
side thing, just saying what
yeah,
trouble, how they met, what they got up to, and what happened after them. Like, just like say, like going about their business like a day-to-day stuff. I think that would just be a fun story to tell.
It was, and it really would just be like characters you want to hang out with, you know?
Exactly. And
yes,
that was what this film was made. I know it's as you said, set in the real world, but it's like it's an extreme like
Yeah,
industry type of thing in crime.
yeah.
Um, but it seems I said there's been a lot of type of movies or TV shows that's been set in the type of feel. Like I know we've just like not to say compare it, but the Gentleman TV show that came on Netflix not too long ago, it had similar vibes and feels because it's, as you said, in that world. Their world is a little bit more cartoon to yours, but still it has that type of like language and like brutality, which we're getting now on the screen, and it seems to be like especially as a British like filmmaker like yourself, it's great to see and like have like not just like all these American gangsters or American things that come out where it's so unbelievable and over the top. Where when these films come out, they're a little bit more grounded. It's more enjoyable for us because we could probably
yeah.
well probably not in the northeast, but if we travel down to London, there's probably is gangsters or guys that like talk and act like this in a certain way.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And I'm sure there probably are some gangsters in the Northeast as well, uh, for
Yep.
sure. You know, each region has its own gangsters. I'm sure they behave in different kind of ways. We know the kind of classic Cockney gangsters because we've seen them in
Yeah.
so many movies. Um, you know, maybe it's time for some other
Mm-hmm.
uh, gangsters.
What
Certainly.
a Geordie gangster.
That'll be
Oh,
interesting.
got plans. I've
Mhm.
got plans.
Oh,
Letting things out now, letting things out. But as we said at the start as well, you are a very busy man. Like I say, this movie comes out next week. I
yeah.
believe the London premieres on Monday. Is that right? For the
Um,
screen, the screening's on Monday. I think at Leicester. I think there's a screening coming out. I think.
okay. I
Hmm.
don't know about
All
that,
right.
but no,
You just Paul's just letting stuff slip now.
No, no, it's fine. I got an email saying, "Can you just make it?" I was like, "I'm in the northeast. I can't get to London. I'm sorry."
Sorry.
I don't know. There may well be screening or something. I'm not sure. I'm
Right.
not sure.
All right. No, that's fine.
Screening or something. I don't know. Could be.
No problem. And I know there's you've got a movie coming out quite soon as well after this. That's coming out. I've forgotten the name of it now.
Well, we shot it last year. It's a thing called Compulsion.
Right.
Uh,
Ooh.
don't know when it's coming out yet because it hasn't
Mm.
been picked up by distributors. So like
All
we're
right.
literally just about to start entering it in festivals,
Right.
uh, and
Ooh.
then see what goes from there. But yeah, that's still early days on that one. Hasn't got a release date. I'm guessing next year sometime.
Certainly. Um, Other things I did notice in this movie as well, because I know when people say the name Neil Marshall, it goes hand in hand with like say some of the classic horror movies that we've seen, like the modern horrors. There was that type of element in this movie, especially like I say in the violence and
Mhm.
like say some of the like the torture scenes. It's nice to see that you're not letting go to the horror roots as well just yet.
Yeah.
Can't do that. No, I always bring my horror sensibilities to the
Mhm.
project I'm doing. I think that's been prevalent in everything I've done. So yeah, if I'm going to do violence, I'm going to go,
But
going to
go
go
hard.
town.
But
And it's more
yeah.
fun that way. I mean, I think it becomes more fun for the audience when
You
there's a certain amount of satisfaction to be got from the extreme violence. I mean, Tarantino does that all the time. He knows the
Mhm.
audience. See. So yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, you say that though, because I know like my co-host is a horror fiend, like with doing the Monsters podcast. I am the big softie of the podcast. When it comes
Really,
to blood
really
and
is.
gore, I am the one that hides behind the pillow. My wife likes to rip the piss out of me so much times, just simply because I can't watch. Like, if I see a lot of blood, I'm the one that goes pale. So yeah, so this one, like, I the horror sensibilities, I loved it. I was like, I loved how far you go. There's one scene as well with Sean, and again, not to give spoilers, when he's got his hand stuck somewhere. It's just brutal. Like,
But so much of that is to do with the idea of what's happening on screen, as to what you're actually seeing. It's like just the idea of it is pretty gnarly.
Oh, I'm a big fan of that as well. Like, if you go back to, like, people always say about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, there's very little blood and very little actual things you see. It's all noise and shapes and the sounds that they do get around. I think that's a lost art with a lot of filmmaking as well. So when you bring that element back, it then has more of an impact, especially if on the newer audience that hasn't really experienced it as much.
Yeah, definitely.
I've got a pitch for you. So I've been threatening Sammy that I was going to do this because we had Ian White on as well, and I did tell him this idea as well. He wasn't as enthusiastic as I thought he would be.
No, he was not.
So, because I know when you were on the Monsters, you told us that you loved the old Universal horror monsters, like say, and I do think at the moment we are in need of a kind of a revamp or a reboot of them classic characters, but with a twist. Because after seeing the movie Renfield with Nicolas Cage as Dracula, I would love to see the monster universe with Nicolas Cage playing every single monster, like having him playing the Wolfman, having playing the creature from the Black Lagoon. I just think this would be a license to print money.
So it'd be the Nicolas Cage universe, not the Universal.
So the Cage monster universe, I think we'll go for that.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that sounds pretty fantastic. How are we going to make that happen?
If I say if I can get a lot of people, if I can get a lot of people, if I can never reach out and actually speak to Nick Cage, possibly, because he seems to be making a lot of movies.
I'd love to see Cage playing, you know, the creature in Frankenstein or like that. Fantastic.
Well, you can play multiple parts now. You could actually be the creature, like Frankenstein's monster and Frankenstein the scientist. Just have them playing off each other would be. I don't know.
You were a lot more enthusiastic than Ian was.
You could play Igor as well. I mean, he could play anything. Just play the part.
See, it works. It's a really good concept.
He was really excited to pitch this to you, by the way.
Well, I do like the idea. I would watch it.
Right. See, I'm gonna take that. That's good enough for me. I'm happy with that now. So yes. Sorry.
Are you happy now?
Yes, I'm buzzing with that one now. So yes.
Oh, bless you.
So like as I said, with the cast that's in this movie, like everyone that's on point. Like, it's a very modern take on the gangster feel, especially with the tones that we normally get. It's very different from the type of movies that we've got from you in the past. Just hoping as well that you're not going to, like, say, leave the horror genre, like say that's going to be fully, or are you going back to that at some point, hopefully?
No, I definitely. I think I'll always have one foot in the horror genre somewhere, and I've got a couple of projects that are brewing that take me firmly back there for sure.
Certainly.
Oh, exciting! Exciting stuff.
No problem. Anything else you want to ask there, Sammy?
No, it was more. It was a lot to take in when we're watching this movie. A lot to take in, and I was really enthralled by Scarlett. Said her name right. I loved her character development. I loved Stephanie Beacham was just perfect. The whole you are so brilliant at bringing casts together and having such a family feel. Even if there is conflict, there is still chemistry there. And I know I've talked to you about that on Monsters before, but wow.
I managed to put together a really cool ensemble cast. And you know, and they were very close. You know, Sean and Hoji and Phil, really sort of tight friendship when we were filming, and I think that came across on the screen as well. So yeah,
you do it so brilliantly. But no, I have nothing more on this movie.
No, the only thing I've got to ask as well, like Sam's co-host Dan did actually send us a message to ask you a question as well, because like I say, I think you're going to be at a convention soon. I think she'll be working, so you might see a
He
little.
said she's going to come and say hello.
It's a little purple-headed friend. So how do making these movies compare to like directing like the big Hollywood blockbusters as well? I know you probably have a little bit more control. But is there a big difference between making like say your own movies where you're in full control to the Hollywood style?
Yeah, I mean the big difference is less time, less money, more control.
Right.
You know, whereas the Hollywood movies is the polar opposite. You know, lots of money, lots of time, zero control. You know, most part, or at least you know for Hellboy anyway. But yeah, I mean Doomsday was a bit different because that kind of was a studio movie, but we made it in and you know we weren't really interfered with, so I got pretty much full control on that one. But it was by studio standards, it was relatively you know, low budget by studios. So with these ones, it's like, you know, you're making films for under 5 million and trying to just get as much out of that money as possible. But the cycle you make are not having time as you'd like, and you know, not being able to, but you know, you get it somehow or other.
No, definitely. And like I say, if this movie was made from under 5 million, I don't know how you've done that. That's impressive.
Yeah, just throwing everything at the screen.
But yes,
literally.
no. So if anyone's listening, like I say, the movie is out in the cinemas on the 9th of August. I believe it's coming to digital download as well.
On the 12th of August.
The 12th of August. As I said, get the pictures to see this. I would highly recommend it just for a fun ride, especially if you're fan.
It's a fun night out, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Especially if you're a fan of like the old, like almost like 70s, like kind of like cop shows, or like as we mentioned, James Bond, like the old like Roger Moore style. I think the vibe I got from this. But yeah.
Oh, you and your Bond films.
Definitely.
But some of the best car chases and, as I said, action set pieces that's set up as well. And just to say it to hear Stephanie Beacham swear, that's probably the tagline you need to put on. Watch this movie to hear Stephanie Beacham say certain words.
Yes.
But yes,
does it so well.
Yes, but thank you so much for joining us, Neil.
Yes, thank you, Neil.
Again, I know as a fanboy, I don't know how much it means, especially for like say a Northern lad, and seeing how well you're doing, and like say just like I said, keep battering the Northern like say pride for us as well. So thank you so much. So anything you want to add before we go there, Neil?
I don't think so. Just yeah, go out there and support Duchess.
Yes,
because he's supporting independent British films.
Yes,
exactly, and that's what we need more of as well. Because, fair enough, we get big blockbusters where everyone raves about as well, but it's the independent cinema that if they die out, like say the movie industry can't grow and can't can't get classics out there as well. But yes, very much so. So thank you, Sammy, and
thank you.
So same bat time, same bat channel.
Stay nerdy, everyone. Bye.
Bye.